What's up, everybody? Before we jump into today's video real quick, I just want to say thank you guys for helping me reach 1,000 subscribers. I started taking this YouTube thing pretty serious about a year ago, and in 1 year's time we were able to get to the 1,000 subscriber benchmark. So thank you guys very much for that. As promised, I will be doing a giveaway, so get in the comments right now. Let me know what you guys would like to see for our first benchmark of subscribers giveaway. I have some ideas of some things to give away, but I want to hear from you guys on what you guys want. Also, while you're in the comment section, tell me which days you guys like to watch my videos the most and at what time. Also, drop what part of the country you're in, so I kind of have a way of gauging where you guys are at, when's the best time to bring these videos out to you. So that's all I got for this. Just wanted to say thank you guys. Give you guys a heads up on the giveaway, and stay tuned for this video because it is a good one. Okay, so today we're going to do a revisit on the front four-link suspension specifically for four-wheel drive asphalt racing. If you go back, if you're new here, I have a whole series on this front axle suspension stuff and rear axle suspension stuff as well, specific to the four-wheel drive. And if you're not up to speed yet, jump back into those older videos and check those out because there's a lot of really good information in it. But as racing always is, it's constantly evolving. You're constantly learning. Every time you think you have something figured out, sometimes you come across some new information or a new way of looking at things, and it flips the script on what your thought process was the year before. And that's why in those videos, you'll notice I'll say, as of this date, this is what we think. I don't think that this should be set in stone. This isn't the end all be all. This is just where we're at. March 26, 2022, this is what we have found to work the best. Because, like I've said in other videos, usually with drag racing, you look back a year later and you feel like you were stupid. And that's how it should be. Every year you should progress and you should learn more. So let's talk about what I've learned about these front four links and how it's different than what I told you guys last year. So to recap, just real quickly here, everything with the caster and the pinion angle, all those videos, that all stays the same. Those are mechanical parts that you can get hard numbers on. So like, you know, if you lay the caster back, the more degrees you lay it back, the truer it wants to track. Those are unarguable things. Pinion angle. On a four-link setup, if you got good hardware, good Heim joints, ideally you don't want any more than about 2 degrees of pinion angle in that. With the four-wheel drive, the front axle pinion angle is usually always not going to be anywhere near that unless you're custom building the axle yourself to where you can change the knuckle placement. So caster trumps pinion angle, and to the point where pinion angle gets in too much of a bind. But I'm not going to get too much into that because we covered those in all those old videos. But all of that logic remains the same. Today I specifically just want to talk about four-link bars. So in the last video where I talked about four-link bars, I talked about intersect point, and that's instant center. So instant center would be if you drew two imaginary lines at the angles in which these bars are running, the point in which they intersect. So on the rear four-link, you would draw the lines out towards the front of the vehicle here. Wherever they intersect, that's where it's trying to pick up on the vehicle. In the past, my thought process always was keep the housing spread on the front axle wider than the chassis side. So the bars will look like this, essentially. More spread at the axle, less spread at the housing. And my thought process is that those bars, as long as they're parallel or have more spread on the housing, they'll go that way and they'll never intersect. Well, the problem with that thought process, even though that is correct, we have to keep in mind we're running in reverse here. So the axle is actually spinning in reverse. So rear pinion angle goes up when you let go of the trans brake, front pinion angle actually goes down. So my thought process was I was doing it backwards. Instead of plotting out the four-link in the way that it's actually acting on the chassis, I'm kind of not doing that. I'm actually in the total opposite. So the four-link bars are always going to push or pull. And in this case, the front bar, the top bar in the front is going to push, and the bottom one is gonna pull. So the way you set the spread up in the front is gonna dictate what it does to that chassis bracket. So I'm not gonna necessarily tell you guys how you should set your trucks up because I want you guys to understand what's happening here, so that way you can see what your truck's doing and you can set it up specific to your truck. Every truck is different. Everything likes a little bit of a different recipe. I don't want to teach you guys what to think. I want to teach you how to think. So the way that this is currently set up right now, this top bar is pushing back and down on that chassis bracket. So it's trying to drive that chassis bracket into the ground. Meanwhile, I have the rear set up with the lower bar angle running uphill. So that's trying to separate the chassis. So what that's trying to do is my rear 4-link chassis bracket is trying to go forward and up, and then the front is trying to go back and down. So if this is the front, this is the rear, it's trying to do this, and my front bracket here is trying to do this. So it's essentially trying to pull the front end down. Now, that might be desirable for what you want to do. That might not be desirable. That's all up into your setup and how you want to run the truck. But if I wanted to make the front separate more, I could take my front 4-link bar, move it way up here, and give it an uphill angle, and that's gonna make the front try to separate because it's trying to push that front chassis bracket back and up. So if I did that, that would change, my rear would be going forward and up, and my front would be going back and up. So instead of them fighting each other like they are now, where it's basically trying to rotate around the center of the vehicle, they would both be trying to separate. So take that information as you will. I'm not telling you either way to do on yours. I still think that a parallel 4-link in the front can work totally fine. The way my particular chassis is, the ride height and everything, I can't get the true parallel. I can get pretty close, but the front axle has always been, when it comes to the 4-link setup, it's always been a little bit of the elephant in the room. We've always just tried to set it up as neutral as possible and do most of the work with the rear. And I think that that's not a wrong thought process. And I think you can go really fast that way. You can have a lot of success that way. But I think that there's a lot to be gained with the same reason that there's a lot to be gained in the rear with 4-link manipulation, mechanical manipulation of the front axle. So I just wanted to take a few minutes and explain that to you guys. That's some information that it's taken me a while to learn and to come to that conclusion. But if you think about it, the top 4-link bar is mechanically locked into the top of the front axle. The bottom 4-link bar is locked into the bottom of the front axle. And so it doesn't matter how you look at instant center, the spread is going to dictate how much force this chassis bracket sees. Even if you set it up perfectly neutral, it's still running in reverse. It's still trying to push the top bar and then run the bottom bar that way. It's pushing back on the top, pulling on the bottom. And so it is having a force on that chassis bracket. There's nothing you can do about it. It's going to have an effect on it. So you have to look at your setup and you have to figure out, how do I use this 4-link bars to manipulate how I want this chassis bracket to have force applied to it, and think about how that's also affecting the rear chassis bracket and how you have your rear 4-link set up. So that's all I got for this one, guys. Hope you find it helpful. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to let me know what you guys want to see in that giveaway. What time and what frequency do you want these videos at? And like always, we'll see you next time.